broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 205 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challen. This is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Great panel again this week. We have Josh Cast of Four Guys Guns. Hey, Josh.
How's it going, Jake? Good to be here.
We have Nate Murr of Kinetic Development Group, writer for Recoil Magazine, and the inventor of the Grip Stop. Hey, Nate.
Hey, Jake. Good to be back on.
So, week in review. What'd you guys do in guns this week? Josh?
Just wrapped up the Bowers Verse 9S suppressor review. That'll actually be going live tomorrow on Four Guys Guns. And that's, for the most part, took some pictures, some hunting stuff, played in the woods for a little bit, made sure my dog was good, and another day in the life of.
And your dog's better, right?
Yeah, it was like a pinched nerve or something. So he's paralyzed one day, jumps out of the truck, and almost breaks his back, and instantly better. And then 5 days later, or 7 days later, he's faster, bigger, and stronger. Who knew?
Huh.
Dogs.
Oh, good to hear. Nate, how about you? What have you been up to?
Actually, I've been running pretty hard the last week. I did 2 different ranges. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was down in West Virginia at Max Velocity Tactical, taking a course down there, which was really, really awesome. I had a really good time down there. And shot guns yesterday. My buddy just bought a new AK-74, so he came over and shot it, and I showed him how to disassemble it and clean it. So been gunning pretty hard this week.
Very cool. So what type of training class was that? What did you guys cover?
It's kind of a unique class. It's like a carbine course, but it's focused on small unit tactics. It's their small unit tactics class. So what the facility is incredible. It's an amazing range. It's all these different ranges built in these different hollows or draws, like ravines along these mountains. And the company's got a bunch of different pop-up targets that are command initiated. So they have these target bays dug into the mountainside, so it's kind of like buddy drill type stuff, and then you scale up and you start doing like 4-man teams, and it's like basically movement to contact and how to break contact, and what happens if you're going one direction and somebody starts shooting at you from a different direction. So it's very tactics oriented, which is unique that way. There's very few companies in the country that actually teach tactics for whatever reason. It's beyond me. But it was a really, really good class. The guy that owns the company, Max, is a former British officer and para, so definitely knows his stuff. Very
cool. Far as me, I didn't get to do any cool guy gun stuff really, but worked on the Firearms Radio Network, Patriot Patch, so I guess that counts in a small way maybe.
You got to handle
a role to play.
You got to handle some patches with guns on them. So
that's right. Pretty
much the same thing.
Yeah. So Amazon helps make this episode possible, and with the Amazon affiliate link, you can also shop Audible, and that's something I have been doing is reading some Audible books. Read 1 Second After, which is a book that will get you in the prepping mode big time.
Buy all the ammo.
And then I just started the sequel to it 1 year after, and that one's very good as well. I'm just a little ways into that book. But you can pick both of those up at Amazon using our affiliate link. Very good reads. Quite a bit of gun stuff in there. They get most of the stuff right. They still call a magazine a clip, but besides
that's like the most annoying part of those 2 books, right? So I just read the second one a few months ago, and the dude that wrote that book was an Army officer. Like, he should know better, right? Like, you read it and you're like, you forget for a second who the author is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like frustrating that way. Like, if you're a gun guy.
Maybe it was on the editor. Maybe they said people don't associate with magazines.
Right.
Call it a clip.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that was it. Yeah, it's hard to say. So yeah, check it out, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon, or click any of the Amazon banners or links on firearmsradio.tv, and then you can shop Amazon or Audible and pick up some cool stuff and support pro-gun shows like Gun Guy Radio. And back to Patriot Patch, been doing some inventory and stuff, and we have just a very, very few gun entrepreneur bundles left. We have 2 bundles left, and after that, there's no more patches, and there's only a very few shirts left. But check it out, patriotpatch.co/TGC, if you want to get one of those patches and bundles while they last. But lots of new stuff. Got a new Firefly-themed patch and pre-order up. There's 2 more Firefly themed patches coming out, so check it out, patriotpatch.co.
Do you shop on Amazon? How about your spouse? Does your mom? Does your company? Why not use the Firearms Radio Network's Amazon affiliate link next time you shop Amazon? Bookmark firearmsradio.tv/Amazon, or click through the Amazon link in the right-hand corner of firearmsradio.tv. Get it? Got it? Amazon it.
Main topic this week, again, we're talking a little more geared towards the newer gun guy, gun gal, so we've covered lots of things like buying your first gun, cleaning your first gun, shooting your first gun. Now we're talking accessory options for my first gun or for maybe one of your first guns. So I've kind of split it up here between primary, secondary options, and then a just for fun category. So primary, Nate, what comes to mind primarily, when someone's got a new pistol or, maybe AR-15, hey, Nate, what accessory should I be looking at?
So with the show notes, we have primary and we have secondary. Are we going like primary for like your primary gun, like your long gun, and secondary for pistol, or?
No, that's what I thought too, but I think it's like the first things that you should be looking at before you look at. So like primary right. Not, generally based.
I was all like, look at Jake using the tactical vernacular. Right? Well, I guess it's going to be important, I guess, for us to kind of talk a little bit about the difference between buying your new long gun and then you buying a handgun, right? So, like, obviously, like, if you buy an AR-15, there's a lot of accessories that you need to go along with that rifle, as opposed to you buying a new bolt-action rifle where maybe all you need to buy is an optic and a bipod, right? Handguns are the same thing, because rifles don't require holsters, but you're definitely going to want to get a holster for your new pistol. If you buy an automatic, you're going to need spare magazines, but if you bought a revolver, obviously you don't need spare magazines, but maybe you want like speed loaders or, half moon clips or whatever. But I think it all starts with spare magazines. Like the majority of rifles I want to buy or pistols I want to buy, they all take detachable box magazines. So the thing is, the majority of firearms, the magazines kind of like should be viewed as a perishable item. They're going to wear out. They're going to get a lot of wear. They're going to be jettisoned onto the hard concrete at your range. If there's one, and this is what I've been telling people for years, if there's one part of your firearm that's going to fail, it's going to be the magazine. So having spare magazines, like for me, when I buy a new pistol, I don't rest until I have at least 5 magazines for it. And if I buy a new rifle, such as an AR-15 or SCAR or any semi-automatic rifle, I'm not really happy until I have at least 10 magazines. But that being said, I probably own over 150 AR-15 magazines, and I still buy them. Because of growing up in an assault weapons band from 1994 to 2004, you couldn't get 30-round magazines. You couldn't get any high-cap mags, period, without paying an arm and a leg. So I buy magazines continuously knowing that they're going to wear out and they're going to break. And I train a lot. I shoot a lot. I'm really hard on my gear. So I'm not upset if I lose or break a $10 PMag. You know what I mean? So that's definitely the first thing I would look at.
I would agree with that. I would also make a good note that when guns fail that use magazines, generally the number one cause for any kind of malfunction is the magazine. So having ample amount, we're not saying go buy 20, 50, 100 PMags because, unless you have money to buy other stuff, buy all the mags, whatever. Just don't make sure you dump any of these things that we recommend. Don't dump. If you have a budget, work with that budget, but definitely get yourself enough and number them. Yes. Make sure you put your name on it or your initial or your call sign or draw a bunch of, unicorns, whatever you got to do. But make sure this mag is mag number 1. This mag is mag number 2. Not just because if you go to training class or things like that, but you also can identify when something goes wrong. If I'm holding 5 black P mags or 5 GI mags, 5 Lancer mags, and as I'm going through, something goes wrong at one of them, and I clear it out and I change mags, everything's fine. If I'm looking at 5 of the same magazine, which one just caused the malfunction?
Right.
But
every magazine.
3.
Yeah, Whitey's 100% correct on this. I give every magazine the 3 strikes in your out rule. So what he's saying about labeling, like take a paint marker or Sharpie, or if you want to tape it and just mark the tape, whatever you want to do, but mark it so like odds are if your buddy has an AR-15, he might have the same magazines, and if you're on the range with me and your mags aren't marked, they get marked with my name when I get home. So there's that part of it. And then the other part is like the numbering thing. Definitely, it's allow you to identify your problem magazines. So what I do is when I get a problem with a magazine, I put a hash mark for 1, a hash mark for 2, a hash mark for 3, and if it fails on that 4th time, then it's done. So real quick story, like I was issued a magazine when I was a private in the Marines, and it was this double feed. So I went back to the armor, and the sergeant, he didn't really seem to care, so he took it, threw it in a box, and gave me an equally old, beat-up magazine. Well, I had written my name on it because my other sergeant had told me to do that. And then right before the war in Iraq began, a new joined the unit was having the same double feed. And I look over and I see my name on the magazine. So here I told the sergeant the magazine. So I took the magazine from him, laid it on the ground, heel stomped it, and dented it so there's no chance of you trying to use it. And turn it back in the army, got a new mag. So once your magazine's not working, then just go ahead and destroy it. Just throw it in the trash because it's only going to cause you trouble. And especially if it's your life or death gun, like your CCW, buy the best quality magazines you can afford. Buy Lancer mags, buy P mags, buy factory magazines that are recommended for your gun. Don't try to buy these garbage, cheap magazines you see at Cabela's that are off-brand. You've never heard of them before because it's just a waste of money. You're better off just buying brand name and high-quality mags.
Well, and this is probably something we should have brought up when we talked about buying your first gun in that episode, because magazine prices can vary greatly for different handguns.
Based on political climate.
Well, that too. But, you could be looking at 2 handguns in the same price range, and the magazines could be 3 times more than the other.
Yeah, I mean, you buy an HK, and a handgun mag for HK is like, what is it, anywhere from like $50 to $80 for a magazine or more. But if you buy a Glock, you can get a factory mag between $20 to $30, and now you can buy P mag Glock magazines for like $15. Doesn't get any cheaper than that, right? Well, wait.
I was gonna say, as fun and cool as they may look, don't blow your wad on a beta mag or something that's a dual snail anything and think it's okay. Find out when you have enough mags to screw around with. You're like, I just don't want to load for 60 rounds. Then go buy a drum mag. But get yourself good basic skills and good basic tools first.
Like, once again, growing up during the assault weapons ban where all the cool stuff was banned and nobody was making anything new, as soon as the assault weapons ban expired in 2004, I bought a beta mag, right? Because during the height of the assault weapons ban, a beta mag was $890 if you could find one. So I bought one for like $250 and carried it for 1 week in Iraq on a deployment. I'm like, this is stupid. And then I never carried it again. And it's been sitting in a box ever since. So, like, don't fall for the gimmicky stuff like the super high cat mags. I think the D60 mag from Drum Magazine from Magpul, that one looks pretty cool. But, spend your money on good quality stuff like the Lancer mag and the P mags for rifle. And if you're going to buy a Glock or an HK, don't buy the South Korean, bargain mags. Buy the factory mags.
Or the Magpuls are good to go.
The Magpul ones are really good to go.
So what do you guys think about upgrading the sights, whether it's a pistol or AR, the iron fixed sights on
Nate and I just had a top discussion about this actually out in Pennsylvania.
Oh, really?
Especially concerning pistols, because everyone's first instinct whenever they get a new pistol is if they don't get it with the night sights, they upgrade to night sights. Now, in certain pistols, like the Glock, that comes like a plastic kind of crappy front sight, it works, but it's a plastic front sight. Same with the rear as well. It's a polymer. Upgrading to metal is a big deal, because especially if you go to training classes, you learn how to do things more than just draw, shoot, and hit a bullseye and call it a day. You're going to be put into situations where you need to be able to manipulate that gun, rack that gun, clear malfunctions with that gun. And if you're relying on plastic sights to be a point of leverage, it's going to be a problem. So I highly, with a lot of guns, recommend upgrading your sights. However, personally, I think night sights are overrated. And if anyone ever takes a nighttime or low light shooting course, they'll instantly see why.
Yes, 100%.
So, yeah, when you spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars of stuff that has, don't get me wrong, tritium is cool. I think it's the coolest thing in the world. And if that's all you have, then yeah, you know what? Good to go. But most people are instantly throwing a light on something, or they're carrying a light. If you take a course, you're probably doing both. And from there, what happens is the moment you fill that target area with light, those night sights mean absolutely junk. All you get is a silhouette. So I use a fiber optic front with a metal holder, so to speak. It's a fiber optic rod and a flat, solid metal rear, because you can aim that in perfect daylight perfectly great. And you can aim that with a light perfectly great.
So if your gun comes with quality metal sights, like as much as everybody loves Glock, their factory sights do suck, right? So if you don't know if you need night sights or want night sights or what style, like I don't like 3-dot style night sights. I use straight 8 style ones, right? Because it's faster to acquire the target and recover from your recoil with straight 8 style, where it's 1 dot on the front sight and 1 dot in the rear, and you just literally make a figure 8 fire, as opposed to 3-dot night sights where you have to cover and align those dots, and it's mentally slower for you to acquire those sights. And if you don't believe me, shoot both on a shot timer and you'll see the difference. But if you don't know what you want, I recommend going out and shooting with a couple of friends that have different style night sights and see which style sights you like, and then check to see if that manufacturer makes that style for your particular handgun. I'm completely in agreement with Whitey when he says about night sights aren't the end-all be-all. I like having just a tritium front. I like having a tritium front sight at the very least, because I use it as an index point in pitch black, right? Now, if it's that dark that you need tritium sights to see your iron sights, then how are you identifying your target properly? You're not. So if I had to use cheap plastic sights and I only had say $150 to spend, I would choose to spend that money on a flashlight for my handgun over buying high-end nice night sights. So don't rush to the upgrading your sights just yet. See what you like and what works for you if you have the opportunity to do that before you commit to it. Because they're not cheap. Like tritium sights in particular, they're anywhere from $100, $150. So if you buy them and you don't like them, then nobody's going to take them. There's no used sight market out there where people are going to buy them off you.
And it's funny because you're absolutely right. It took me at least 3 to 4 different brands and 2 or 3 different styles from those brands after several years to kind of narrow down exactly the type of sights I like. And now every pistol I have is running a flat black rear, fiber optic front. I understand the tritium. I agree with the tritium, especially like you were saying. If that's all you got, an index point, and it's great. And the only reason why I don't do it is because price point.
Yeah, I did the same thing as Whitey, where once I found one sight that worked for me, I put them on all of my handguns. So there's continuity from one pistol to the next pistol and the next pistol. And I like that. I feel like it allows me to transition from one pistol to another pistol very smoothly and still retain accuracy.
Same thing goes for, I think, ARs. Unless, Jake, I'm sorry, you wanted to add something?
No, you're right. You listeners, you got to find out what works for you. Everyone has a little bit different opinion when it comes to sights, but find what works for you, what's in your budget, and go from there. And great point trying out your friends' handguns, because you probably got one buddy that's tried all of these different sights already, so you can try his out.
Now, with a rifle, let's just assume that you bought an AR-15. If your AR came with quality iron sights and you don't have you don't plan on buying an optic, which you want to buy an optic, I'm telling you right now. But if you don't plan on buying an optic anytime soon, then if the rifle came with like fold down backup iron sights, either from metal or plastic, you might want to think about buying nicer, high quality, rugged metal sights for that rifle. This carbine course I was at, there's a couple students there not running optics, so they're running the standard iron sights, so standard A2 front sight, like fixed front sight, like an M16 has, and then they had plastic rear sights, which are perfectly fine, but those sights are meant to be backup sights. They're not meant to be primary sights. If you're going to run your rifle without an optic, then actually buy a nice metal fixed in the up position rear sight and front sight if it doesn't have it. Otherwise, you're going to have issues with like the sight getting beat up or knocked off zero or broken. Backup iron sights are exactly that. They're meant as a backup. So they're meant to be small and light and hardly ever used. Now, for the money that you're going to spend to buy quality iron sights for your AR-15 or a similar gun, you're already halfway there to buying a quality red dot. You can buy a Vortex Spark red dot for like under $200 on Amazon. So just buy a quality red dot. I mean, like, I put Vortex, red dots on my personal guns, and then my life or death guns get the exact same thing, only a nicer version. I put an Aimpoint T1 on it, or a Trijicon MRO. So don't be stingy with like your irons. If you're going to use them as your primary means of aiming, buy better quality iron sights, preferably metal. If you know you're going to put an optic on your gun, then don't worry about the sights that came with the rifle, and just save your money and buy an optic when you get a chance.
And let me just add to everything Nate's saying. When he says metal sights, it's not like go buy whatever is metal. Period. There's a lot of good companies that make good, solid product that are available. And before everyone starts freaking out about price point, you can go to Midwest Industries, you can go to GG&G, you can go to Knight's Armament if you want to spend the extra coin. Magpul, Mbus, Pros, even though they're fold down, they're still a solid sight, and they have a good positive click and stay put where they're supposed to. Metal stuff doesn't move, flex, and bend as easily as the polymer does. Granted, you have to put a lot of stress to it. But, I mean, you can go with, like, Troy, Samson. They make big, solid, rear blocks that if all you're going to do is run irons, that's a huge upgrade over, like, an MBUS 1, MBUS 2. You also, when it comes to red dots, listen, if all you're doing is taking your gun to the range and pumping, 300 rounds through it for ha-has, then by all means go buy, like, a sight mark. Go buy something that's, like, a sub $200, sub $100 red dot.
Just don't be surprised when it fails you, though, because it will.
And then you buy another one and another one, and at that point you're now at an H1 from Aimpoint, which is going to literally last you forever. Buy once, cry once is truer the most with optics more than anything, in my opinion, because literally you can sit there and spend $800 on an Aimpoint T2 and a really sweet mount for it, but that will last you your next 7 guns. That's how I mean, I've thrown these things, I've dragged them, I've beaten the hell out of them, and I'm not even in the military or law enforcement. It's just because I test firearms and do reviews and stuff. But I'll tell you right now, the Vortex, that surprised me. Not that Nate uses it, but the Vortex is actually really well built. And who was it? Was it Palma who lit it on fire and stuff?
Yeah,
and it's still
Pete wrote an article about the Vortex Spark for recoil.
Spark 2, yeah.
I want to say last year, and he tried to destroy it in every way possible, including setting it on fire, and the thing still worked. So for a cheaper foreign-made optic that's about the same size as a really high-end optic, like an H1 or a T1, the little thing holds up. I mean, it takes some serious abuse. But what he's saying is, like, if you buy a $1,000 AR-15, don't scoff at buying a $500 optic. And like my company, Connect Development Group, we make optics mounts, and our optics mounts, they're not cheap either. But you understand, like, it's buy once, cry once. If you buy quality, then if you progress as a shooter and you want to do more complex stuff, you want to be, really running your gun to the maximum potential, like doing 3-gun matches and stuff like that, you're going to need better quality gear. So I advise against going the cheap route. Because you're going to regret it. I guarantee it's going to fail and you're going to regret it. So just save up and buy a high quality optic that you see everybody using, like Aimpoint or Trijicon or any of the other big names out there.
The rule of thumb that I've always gone by, and I'm sure Nate will probably tell me I'm lowballing it, but whatever you spent on the gun, your optic, things involving glass and possibly LEDs, things like that, your optic should be at least 50% of the cost of that rifle. So if you bought a $1,000 rifle, you should have a $500 optic. That's just going to put you in a good bracket of equipment of to choose from. If you take, you wouldn't buy a Ferrari and put, Mobile 87 in it. You wouldn't do it because it's just not what you're supposed to do. It's going to end up not doing what it's supposed to do. It's going to misbehave. It's going to cause you more problems. So most people I've heard say equivalent to. So if you buy a nice long barrel, bolt action, I'm going to go sniping. You're not going to put, a Walmart Tasco on it. If you bought a $1,500 bolt gun and you want to reach out and touch something at 600, 800 meters, you're spending probably twice the cost of the rifle in solid glass.
And that's where it gets tough. Like I have rifles that don't have optics right now because I don't have the money. I'm saving up to buy a $2,500 scope for my one bolt action.
And it sucks.
And it sucks, but like you got to pay to play. Like if I want to have a nice bolt action precision rifle, it's great that the rifle itself is inherently accurate. But like what you said, if you put a $60 Tasco on it, that rifle's not going to shoot to its fullest potential. You're not going to shoot to your fullest potential, and you're going to blame the gun when in reality it's the optic's fault.
Yeah, waste ammo, waste money, not hit things, blame it on the gun, all that fun stuff. And I think we jumped into secondary with the red dot thing, but in this day and age, even the Marines are starting to move over to red dots and ACOGs for quals now.
Yeah.
Well, right. They don't even teach them on irons
They
anymore,
still do.
right?
It's when they teach
we still do.
combat shooting. Their basic marksmanship, they still have to do irons.
But the thing is like I'm not one of those believers either that you have to learn on irons before you're allowed to move on to a red dot or a magnified optic. I think that is a good traditional thing to do. But if you're like, for example, your average Marine infantryman, if 95% of the time he's going to be shooting in combat with an ACOG, then 95% of the time in training he should be shooting the optic that he's going to be staking his life on. But if that optic should fail, he also needs to understand how to use backup systems like iron sights. And I mean, honestly, iron sights aren't complicated. They've been around. Like the PEEP style rear sight that we've used on the M16 was the same sight that was on the M14, virtually the same sight that was on the M1 Garand. You know, like it's not anything new. It's a proven system. So I can teach somebody how to use iron sights in all about 15 minutes as long as they understand the fundamentals of marksmanship. It's not anything crazy. But
so I put in the primary column, I put in better trigger. Do you guys think that's something we should be that concerned about? Should that be more of a secondary thing? Or?
I think too many people rush to it.
I think that's a fair statement.
Now, like if you don't have a solid grasp of the fundamentals of marksmanship and you don't know proper trigger manipulation and you don't understand reset, then having a nicer, particularly lighter weight trigger on your gun is going to cheat that deficiency in your marksmanship, right? Like, not to bring up Pete again, but Pete says that you should be able to shoot every gun equally well regardless of what trigger's on it. Like you should be able to pick up, a Glock and shoot well with it, and then pick up a Glock with a really super expensive trigger and shoot almost as well, or equally well, or maybe even better. It should be like, what I'm saying is like, once you have that accuracy as a person, you need to be able to apply those fundamentals to literally any gun you come across. So for me, like I use nothing but GI triggers and stock Glock triggers in my guns for years and years and years. But I had a 3.5 pound custom trigger on my 1911. Guess which gun I shot the best with? My 1911, right? So once I finally put a nicer trigger, and I tried a bunch of different triggers, once I finally put a trigger in my Glock, now I'm sold on that nicer trigger. I have a SSVI tier trigger that I absolutely love. It's like the only Glock trigger that I really like, and now I'm putting them in all my Glocks for that reason. But if I didn't have that solid grasp of marksmanship, I don't know if it'd be the smartest thing. I'm not sure it's the best thing for a novice shooter to run into.
I think the reason why I'm so adamant about replacing triggers is because I am really, really tired from the reviewer standpoint and from what we do on Four Guys Guns, from people trying to talk down to spending more for a trigger because mil-spec. Now, I think those days are finally gone, but anybody who has talked to, worked with, or been in the military will tell you mil-spec is the best equipment you can get for the lowest bidder.
Yeah, but also like the M16 trigger hasn't changed since 1954. You know what I mean? Like the design is the same. It's a cast part that's crudely machined. Like GI triggers are not the end-all be-all. They're heavy on purpose because if a kid has his weapon off safe and he falls face first in the mud, or his rifle gets blown out of his hands by an IED blast, you don't want the thing going off and killing him or killing somebody else in the squad, right? So they're purposely heavy. So like, I have a Super Dynamic 3-gun trigger on my favorite rifle. If I drop that rifle, it'll inertia fire, right? Like if I have it all, like no round in the chamber, weapon off safe, and I just like slam it hard enough, I can get the trigger to click, right? So that's kind of a liability if you're looking at using it for like a patrol rifle or a home defense gun or something like that. A heavier trigger would probably be safer. And if you're one of those people that likes to linger with your finger on the trigger, which is an extremely bad habit, you're setting yourself up for failure because you're going to have an ND, right? The lighter the trigger, if you don't observe that finger straight off the trigger till you're ready to fire roll, which you should, then it's only a matter of time before you have an ND. So I don't know, it's give or take. I say, like, if you're brand new to shooting, shoot what you have. Shoot the sights that are on it, the grip that's on it, the trigger that's on it. Shoot it and get to know it before you make a decision. Because odds are, if you don't make an informed decision and you just rush out there and buy the sights, they're not going to be the sights you want. You rush out there and buy the trigger, it's not going to be the trigger that you want. A lot of this kind of stuff comes from experience. Like, what I want on my gun might be different what Whitey has on his gun. We're both accomplished shooters. We're no longer novices, but we still have variance in opinion and preference.
Yeah, there is no one shoe to fit them all, so to speak.
So what about, for now going back to handguns, holsters?
Yes, dear God, yes. That's your first purchase. I would put that right there with magazines.
Which don't fall for the trap of the gun shop, which is the guy tries to upsell you when you buy the gun with whatever terrible holster they have on the shelf, like a Phobos or Uncle Mike's, or whatever garbage holster they're trying to pawn that day.
And the one that comes with it. If you buy a package, that is, I call that the afterthought holster, because literally it's in there just to make you feel like you're getting a good deal.
Which you're not. You're honestly not. Like,
it's terrible.
So base your holster choice off what you want it for. Like, if you just want to go to the range and draw and fire, then that's fine, but it's kind of like, what are you getting out of that? If you plan on carrying the pistol CCW, if you want to carry it concealed, then buy a concealed carry pistol and draw from concealment and actually get those reps in that are going to help you. Just don't like, it's better to not buy a holster the same day and order one that's actually appropriate for what you're trying to use it for than it is that, oh, I need to leave the shop today with my brand new gun with a brand new holster. Do some research. There's plenty of manufacturers out there that make great holsters for a wide range of applications. Like, if I want to wear a drop leg holster or I'm going to Afghanistan, I want a Safariland holster. I want a Safariland retention holster. If I'm going to carry concealed, open carry, then I want a Raven Concealment Phantom holster. If I want to carry appendix, then maybe I'm going to go to a different brand. I might go to a different style holster for appendix. Then, one holster does not solve all they can't do it all, is what I'm saying.
And every body is different too, like physical body. So where you carry, where you're most proficient from, especially if you're going to be carrying the pistol concealed, how garments, how it prints, meaning, can you see a gun through a shirt, so to speak? All these things all factor in. And I know, for instance, I highly recommend for inside the waistband, like Stealth Gear. Stealth Gear USA makes, by far, in my opinion, the most comfortable holster, and it's built upon a platform that several other companies have done before with different materials, and those are all proven as well. But without experience, and it sucks. Guys, I mean, I can't emphasize enough how many different things you will buy that is the same thing through your career of buying gun stuff. But I guarantee you holsters will be one of those ones where you literally end up with a box full in 10 years saying,
I got a box full of holsters. Whitey, I'm sure you got a box full of holsters.
I've given some away. I've made some. It's got to be a thing that fits your body, fits how you carry, purpose-driven, like Nate said. So we were down in Pennsylvania, and the Mountain Man Militia, as I like to call them, when I see a thigh rig that was meant to be worn just a bit lower so the troops could get them around body armor, things like that, or out of room on the belt.
Down by the knee.
Yeah, just your knee holster, your calf holster needs adjustment. Learn. I can't emphasize classes enough. I mean, I told Jake before the show started that training should be in here, but alas, it is not.
Well, that's a good point. Like, going to training will let you know. Like, honestly, if you bought a new gun, like, go sign up for a pistol class or a carbine class from an accredited instructor, because you're going to realize what you need and what you don't need, and you're going to have the opportunity to meet a bunch of other students there that have different setups, and you can, like, hey, how do you like this holster? Or, hey, what kind of sights do you have on your gun? Odds are they're going to let you try them to see if you like them. Like, just ask the instructor, and, like, at the end of the day, they'll let you shoot. You can shoot each other's guns and check out each other's gears. Like, I'm a huge, like, geardo, so whenever I go to a class, I'm always scoping out everybody's kit. I want to see what they have. I want to see what they're running. There's something new that maybe I haven't had a chance to see yet. I ask them about it. And, the gun culture is nice that way because everybody's pretty friendly about this stuff. It's a team activity if you go to a training course. So instead of spending the money and wasting the money, go take a training class. One, it's going to make you more proficient with your new gun. And two, it's going to help you discover what accessories you really need and which ones you don't. And it's going to save you money in the long run. I guarantee it.
And ask around. Ask people who have carried and don't just, no offense, don't just trust cops. Don't just trust, your buddy who was a SEAL Team 6 Ranger, Special Operations Sniper, whatever. Ask the people who are like you, who look like you or have built like you, who are people you trust, and see what and then do some more research on top of that. The gun industry is one of the few places I've seen in all the industries that I've worked in where there is people bending over backwards to provide information for free. They will spend weekends, they will spend nights, they'll spend time away from their kids to do a review on a holster, to do a review on a lube, to do all these things and ask nothing back except for a little bit of a like and a comment kind of thing. So there's a lot of information out there. Just ask. That's all you got to do is just ask.
All right.
Different opinions. This is to end it real quick. Like getting a collection of different opinions, I think is important. Like, I'm a former Marine in combat vet, but I still ask my buddies, like, hey, is this a good idea or is this a good piece of gear? I talk to my fellow Marine buddies, guys that are out and guys that are in. I talk to my cop buddies. I talk to my buddies that are special forces guys that are in service right now. And I talk to competition shooters. I ask Whitey questions, I ask as many different opinions, and if like 9 out of 10 people are all saying this is good to go and it's going to work for me, then that's what we like to call a clue, and I'll buy it.
Jake, that's how you know you've made it, when Nate Murr asks you questions
Okay.
about gear. That's when you know you've made it.
I got a curious mind.
All right, we need to pick up the pace here. We're running short on time, so 2-second answer, Nate, for grip stop and vertical grips.
If you buy a rifle, you definitely need to buy a grip stop, or else your gun will explode and kill you and your entire family. No, there's so many different accessories for handguards and what to put on your gun. Obviously, I have a vested interest in the super awesome grip stop, right, which now has the sticker. But it's something that helps. Whatever you put on the handguard of your rifle, you got to ask yourself, is this really something that's going to help me? So, I made the grip stop so that it could fit as many rifles and as many shooting styles as possible. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it. You can find what works for you. And once again, try as many different products as possible to see what works for you.
Okay. All right, another tangent. Go ahead, Josh.
It's not a tangent. I just wanted you to know that I'm going to come out with a product myself called the Stop Grip, and it's going to be a smaller, more refined version of the competitors.
I already trademarked that as well, so you have to come up with a name.
At a recent class I was able to AI at, because somebody trusted me with the gun that much. I saw a lot of discombobulated shenanigans where it's like, oh, I got a vertical grip, but it's got a light and a laser and like 8 switches on it, and it's made of plastic and the light broke already. So purpose-built stuff. Again, a lot of the stuff that people buy because they think it looks cool what they saw might not be, like Nate was saying, for that particular purpose. I've seen people use just hand stops or the grip stop as this is where my hand should be, as almost like an index point. If you, a lot of guys who do SWAT and whatnot, they do house breaches, and sometimes they're standing stacked on a door for a long period of time or clearing an entire building. That's one of the reasons why that grip, that vertical grip was invented, was because it helped spread that weight out. So make sure you're not just getting it because it looks cool, unless, of course, you just want it because it looks cool. But if you're looking for stuff that's purpose-built, is it necessary? No, for most people, but make sure you're getting the right one for what it is you're doing with it.
Yeah, like I can still shoot my boyhood deer rifle, which doesn't have a laser or a flashlight
right.
or a grip stop on it, or anything. Like a rifle's still a rifle, a shotgun's still a shotgun, a pistol's still a pistol. I mean, it might because it doesn't have a grip stop.
Let's go to flashlights and let's keep it just to like the home defense type scenario.
As many lumens as you possibly can get from a name brand manufacturer like Surefire or Streamlight. That's the long and short of it. I like Streamlight flashlights because the switch mechanism is easier for me to manipulate than it is for Surefire lights. I absolutely love Surefire. They're expensive flashlights, but they're worth the money. However, I prefer Surefire scout lights for rifles, and I prefer TLR1 flashlights for my pistols. That's where I'm on it.
I'm the same but different from Nate. I like Surefire because I don't like how easily the switch goes in the TLR from Streamlight. Insight also makes a good light. Not a fan of Inforce. And everything I have is Surefire just because all the lumens. And with flashlights, learn how to use it, because if you decide to blast your wall with that light before you leave your room, you're using that light everywhere and everyone knows where you are.
Yeah, tactics and training comes into play when it comes to the flashlight. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't need a flashlight. You're going to get shot. Not if you use the flashlight the right way. But like I want at least 60 lumens. Like 60 lumens is like the bare minimum amount of light you need to clear a structure. So
I want Helen Keller. That's what I want. Whatever lumens Helen Keller is.
All right, moving on. Lasers.
Lasers.
I look at lasers like it's a secondary means of aiming. It doesn't replace your iron sights or your primary red dot sight if you have a rifle. They have their uses, particularly infrared ones for shooting at nighttime with nods, which is like the coolest thing in the world. I absolutely love doing that. So if you have the opportunity to go on a hog hunt with night vision, then you're going to probably want to get an IR laser. Or if you're going to go to Afghanistan and smoke Hajis, you definitely want an IR laser. But visible lasers, they help a lot of people with impaired vision, aging eyes, older eyes. But the thing is like they don't always work in daylight. So if you're staking, your life on that laser, if the batteries die or you can't see the beam, then and you never train with iron sights, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So it's one of those things. There's plenty like Crimson Trace and a bunch of other people make good lasers, but understand that it's not the end all be all thing, and that they only are good for one distance.
Jesus.
You okay, Josh?
See this? This is an NC Star laser that you can put a 20mm scope ring on. You can mount this to your rifle with a pressure switch. This is junk. Don't buy this. It doesn't look cool. We know you're not an operator. If you're going to get something like this, get yourself a D-ball or a PEC or something like that, because that is a purpose-driven, piece of equipment. Other than that, in my opinion, you don't need it. No one needs this on their AR-15 at noon at the range.
Oh, that looks cool, though. It's green.
It is. Green,
that is cool.
By the way.
I want one now.
Now I want one.
Green is higher visibility during daylight hours, so you should be able to see this during the day. So for those of you who are looking at green versus red, that's why. I do agree with Nate on the pistols, except for a lot of the smaller ones, like your bodyguards and whatnot, and the stuff that's meant for up close, like within 7 feet, personal defense. There's no way you're getting your sights on. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are as a civilian, so to speak. When you draw that pistol within 7 feet of somebody coming at you, that laser is going to be way visible well before your sights come into play, and you're shooting from here.
But if you're going to do that, if you're going to train that way, then you need to still train without having your laser, like turn it off.
Correct. There's still sights
do it like
on
point shooting and do it with laser, because if you count on the laser, anything battery powered can fail you. So have a redundant system, like backup iron sights for your red dot, if you're red dot. All right.
Read the book 1 second after if you don't believe us.
Yeah. EMPs are scary.
Drop it. Drop that damn EMP already.
So let's move on to secondary. We already covered optics pretty well, so let's move into, I don't know, what other things would be secondary. I threw in interchangeable barrels because you could shoot different calibers. I don't know.
You can do that, like the AR-15 is the original interchangeable system. So like I'm not going to buy a barrel for an AR-15. I'm going to build a whole new upper receiver. So like because it's like almost it's slightly more expensive than just buying a barrel. Like just build a whole new upper.
I wasn't thinking of an AR. I was thinking of a Glock. Where you
all
right, so like
Glocks, Big Sour, all those like buy this 40 and you can swap it out for 9 or a 22 for training.
Right.
By the time you're done, again, it's like Nate's saying, even with the AR-15, you spend $250 on a swap out kit that you will most likely use twice before you just go and buy a dedicated caliber weapon.
Now, Glock, I would say, is the exception with that. Like, I'm a big fan of the Glock 23, only because I love the Glock 19. I absolutely love the Glock 19 because that's probably the most popular Glock on the face of the earth. If you buy a 43, for a little bit over $100, you can get a 9mm conversion barrel, and now you can shoot 40 and 9mm. In fact, 9mm will even fit in a 40 magazine. You'll get a stoppage now and then, which is good for training, but it's not what you want to stake your life on. So it's one of those things where it's like I've sold a lot of people Glock 23s over the years just for that reason, so you can shoot 40 and 9mm. So if 9mm is dried up at your local gun shop, but you can buy 40, well, you can still play in the game. The same thing like 357 SIG barrel. So a Glock 23 will shoot 40, 9, and 357 SIG, and all you have to do is get different magazines if you want to carry it concealed. But that's not for everybody.
I'm still in the end of the world mood, so I'm thinking, what if I can't shoot one caliber?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had a Glock 23 and a 9mm conversion barrel and a 357 SIG conversion barrel, that's $200 right there, right, for the conversion barrels. Now you can shoot any similar size magazine or any larger magazine. So a Glock 17 magazine fits in a Glock 19. So if you come across a Glock 17 magazine full of 9mm, you put your 9mm barrel in it and use the magazine. If you have a Glock 23 barrel on it, you have the 40 Smith & Wesson barrel, and you come across a Glock 22, you can use the Glock 22's ammo and mag in your gun by simply switching the barrel. So you have versatility with that. But that's like one of the only guns that has that. With the SIG guns, with the conversion kits and stuff, they're nice and it's cool, but like Whitey said, for what you spend for the conversion kits, it's crazy expensive, and you're better off just buying a designated gun that's a subcompact versus trying to configure your compact into a subcompact or whatever it might be.
Right. It's just under half the price of a whole nother gun to have a conversion. So we're talking field strip, remove parts, put new parts in, do it in, but you're not carrying those parts with you. Now, end of the world situation, yeah, Jake, you got a really good point. Especially when most cops carry 40 and most of us
carry 9.
Should carry 9s. So, I mean, if you're talking pickup ammo and hypotheticals, then yeah, it probably makes a lot of sense. Have your prep gun set and ready to go.
Okay, what other secondary things come to mind? You know, you already knocked out the spare magazines and the holster. What's a little farther down the road in your guys' mind?
I mean, like, we have stippling on the list. Like, figure out, like, if you don't like the texture of your gun. I'm not one of these people that likes to base my purchases off feel. I don't care the way the gun feels in my hand. I care about being super accurate and super reliable. And then ergonomics are still more important to me than feel, right? Like, how easy is it for me to hit the magazine release? How hard is it for me to hit the bolt catch or the slide release? That kind of stuff. The way it feels has nothing to do with the way the gun performs, right? I can work around a weird, like a 1911 does not point the same as a Glock, right? So when I started shooting Glock, when I present my Glock, I always come out like muzzle high, so that grip angle. Well, the easy way to get around that is just to train more. Now, eventually, what you can do is, if you want, you can have your Glock stippled and modified, so now it has less of that distinct angle. You can have it, customized that way by a custom shop or somebody that knows what they're doing. But it's one of those things where, like I say, like if you're a novice and you're new to the gun, shoot the gun in stock configuration, shoot other people's guns and see what they have and what you like, and then take all these good little things from all these different people and roll it into your own gun once you have a plan and you know what you definitively like and don't like.
I agree and disagree with Nate. I had a Glock, and I got rid of it because the finger grooves, the grip, all that fun stuff. But I couldn't deny the fact that due to the angle, due to the low center bore axis, things like that, I was more accurate with it. So through experience, like we talked about before, I learned what it was about the gun I didn't like, and I modified from there. So
how's that disagreeing with me?
Because personally, when I buy a Glock, like it instantly just gets taken apart and sent out to get grip reduction and stippling.
Yeah, but you learned that. You had to learn that from
So
some point.
I guess whatever. I agreed with you, Nate. You're smarter than me.
I want to go that far. You're just disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing here.
Cerakote aesthetics.
Yeah, so just for fun.
Cuts. Some of it has a purpose, and again, you find that out. Like if you go into competition shooting, you'll see a lot more of the changing of the slides, simply because it changes how. A lot of people don't know that. It's not just, it looks cool. It changes the whole dynamic of the recoil, where that weight is located as that slide comes back and goes forward. Cerakote, when you go into things like painting and aesthetics, Cerakote's amazing. It's not just to make guns prettier. It actually has a much harder, more durable finish than anodizing does, and you get to pick cool colors.
And you can stay out in the rain all day long, and you don't have to worry about wiping down your gun. All you have to do is worry about wiping down the inside of your gun.
Yeah,
so it helps with maintenance. Yeah, it helps out with maintenance. But I'm a big fan of the Krylon. That comes from my Marine Corps days. But it's one of those things where if you're going to set a rifle up for hunting, then you don't need a black rifle with a shiny walnut stock. You might want to consider having it either Cerakoted or giving it the rattle can finish yourself, which is not hard to do. There's plenty of YouTube. I did a YouTube video years ago about how to camouflage your rifle. You can check that out. Just type it in. But anyway, it's not just like what he said. It's not just aesthetics. There is some functional point to Cerakote and paint.
I've seen people do amazing things with Krylon. Like, I don't have the patience for it, and I've done airbrushing and stuff in my life. Krylon and a gun, it's really easy to make that look terrible.
Yeah. The worse it looks, the more I like it.
Ugh.
Well, I think that about wraps us. Final thoughts, Whitey?
Take your time. I think everything that we went over had the general idea of shoot what you have first and shoot it until you shoot it well, and go with what you want to change from there. Do your research. Ask the majority of the world out there that is willing to help, which is anybody like Four Guys Guns, like Firearms Radio Network and their many shows. And that's just literally a teardrop in, the ocean of information that's out there.
Anything to add, Nate?
Like Whitey said, 100% agree. And like we both said, the best way to figure that out, to gain that knowledge, aside from watching YouTube videos and listening to shows like this, is also just to go take a class and ask questions to your fellow students and instructors.
Well, that brings us to the end of the main topic. Next week, we're talking gun storage myths exposed. So we'll be talking about home security safes, vehicle safes, stuff like that, and a little bit about how easy it is to bypass the security on many of these safes.
That's why I have a gun, to protect my other guns.
So, yeah, tune in next week.
Gun Guy Radio says thank you and proudly displays artwork and graphics designed by Ryan Cross of Hunter of Design. HunterofDesign.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7-inning stretch time. We invite you to join in singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Patches, get your patches here. Patriot Patch Company has all your favorite flavors. Tactical, Western, sci-fi, pop culture, hot and ready. Don't forget to wash it down with a Pro Gun Custom Screen Printed T-shirt. Available in sizes medium to 5XL. They're great for any occasion. Patches, get your patches at patriotpatch.co.
You can support Gun Guy Radio through our new revamped Patreon program. It's an easy way for you to crowdfund every episode of Gun Guy Radio. We have new perks. You can pledge as little as $1 per episode or all the way up to $15, where there's perks all the way in between. We have $5 levels that will get you Firearms Radio Network shirts or Gun Guy Radio patches, and $8 levels that will either let you hang out with us after the show or a supply drop box full of goodies and swag. And there's also Patch of the Month Club, T-shirt of the Month Club, and then the large $15 ammo dump box that will come with a bunch of cool swag and gear and stuff like that. So check it out, patreon.com/gun. Support Gun Guy Radio to keep these shows coming at you. And NRA show is coming up here really soon. We're having a listener meetup Saturday night at the NRA show. But before that, on Saturday, we also have the Gun Collective presents the Ultimate Gun Guy Q&A panel, where I believe our very own Whitey on tonight's show is part of this panel.
Could you sound less mocking? Oh, the Ultimate Gun Guy Q&A panel.
I'm gonna be there taking a million pictures of you up in front of the podium just to make hilarious memes later.
I'm just bringing a flash bulb and just running it.
Yeah, I'll just give you all the opportunities. I'll open my mouth really wide in front of the microphone, and I'll look at you coy. We'll do a lot of fun stuff.
So that's going to be 1 p.m. During the NRA show. That's Saturday, May 21st, 1 p.m. I have a location here in the show notes. It's Crown Plaza at Louisville Airport Expo Center. Have the exact address and the show notes, which the show notes will be at firearmsradio.tv, and then just click Gun Guy Radio. So hope to see you there. And then after that, we hope to see you at the Firearms Radio Network listener meetup, which is at the Cardinal Hall of Fame Cafe. It's just on the corner of the fairgrounds where the NRA show is being held. So hope to see you guys out there. Patriot Patch Company also helps make this episode possible. Check out all the awesome T-shirts up on Patriot Patch. We added in the last month and a half, we've added, I think, at least half a dozen new T-shirt designs. So head over there, check out all the awesome T-shirts at patriotpatch.co. And if you need any kind of artwork, graphic design, go over to hunterofdesign.com. Ryan Cross can create awesome graphic artwork for your business, for anything you have going on for your personal brand. hunterofdesign.com. So that wraps us up. Nate, where can people connect with you online?
You can find Connect Development Group on our Facebook page and on our Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me personally, you can just send me a message on Instagram just look up Grip Stop.
Very cool. And Josh, where can people connect with you?
Right here on the screen, we have all the fun ways, and this is just some of them. We're pretty spread out among social media, so you can find us at 4 Guys Guns just about everywhere. If you want the adult words, Whitey, you can get FGG space Whitey on Snapchat, and you can find us on Facebook as well. We're having a giveaway right now. Stealth Gear USA is sponsoring a giveaway to give you a completely tricked out Glock 19 with stipple and reduction and weight cuts and RMR, as well as a full matching kit. So full outside the waistband flex holster from Stealth Gear, as well as mag carrier, special edition red velocity mag extensions, like literally 500 rounds of defense ammo from Lehigh Defense, as well as a cleaning kit from Dewey Rods. Oh, and a barrel from Adams Arms Voodoo International that's threaded, in case you want to put on the pew pew can on there.
Very cool. Remember to subscribe to us on iTunes or however you listen to the show. Some people have been having problems with the iTunes and the Apple podcast app. I encourage you to try some of the other podcatcher apps out there. Downcast is one that works great, has worked great for years. There's some random bugs in the Apple stuff right now that causes our cannot download errors and stuff like that. So check out other podcatcher apps if you run into that problem. Or you can always download manually at firearmsradio.tv. Please consider joining the NRA and the Second Amendment Foundation. Don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network. And also shop our Amazon affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. Well, thank you, Nate.
Thank you, Jake. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Whitey.
Pleasure to be here, Jake. Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap. We'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I kind of forgot in all this excitement. But being this is the Guns of Hollywood podcast on the most popular pro-gun podcast network in the world and will blow your eardrums clean out, you've got to ask yourself a question. Have you subscribed yet? Well, have you, punk? GunsOfHollywood.com or search Guns of Hollywood on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher app. Punk.